Welcome to Phys Bryology, where the teacher becomes the tutor. Today we're going to continue on our metabolic pathways and be focusing on the Krebs cycle or citric acid cycle. These terms are used interchangeably, it just depends on the preference of your textbook. So remember, with the end of glycolysis, we're going to create two strands of pyruvate. If oxygen is present, it will enter into the mitochondria. So that's where we're picking up right now. So pyruvate will come into the mitochondria because oxygen is present. So our ticket is there. We can come into the mitochondria or the Super Bowl. And in that process of pyruvate being converted into acetyl-CoA, we're going to create 5-ATP. Again, that's called the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. And that's as much detail as we're going to go into for this video. And remember, the purpose of these series of videos is to cover the very basics of metabolism and not throw in a ton of detail so we can grasp and have a good understanding of what's happening, and then we can add in those details as we solidify these concepts. So pyruvate becomes acetyl-CoA, and then in the Krebs cycle, acetyl-CoA will be converted and transformed into all sorts of different substances or molecules. There's a lot of rate-limiting enzymes, a lot of enzymes involved in this process. And what we're going to focus on is those end products. So during the Krebs cycle, we're going to get ATP. Technically, this is a GTP, but it's converted into an ATP. So we're going to call it ATP. We're also going to get some NADH and FADH. Now, these may seem like kind of an obscure combination of letters, but you can think of these as transport molecules. And their job is going to be to transport hydrogens to the electron transport chain. Now, this is really important because those hydrogens are going to be used to create ATP in the electron transport chain. So NADH and FADH are essentially going to be ATP that are created from the Krebs. It just has to undergo one more process. And then an additional product of the Krebs cycle or citric acid cycle is going to be CO2. So if we total these all up, our net ATP from the mitochondria is going to be 20. So again, that's with the FADH and the NADH taking their hydrogens to the electron transport chain and getting those converted. So if you need, the next video is going to be covering this process of the electron transport chain. So be sure to tune into that so we can see how these transport molecules are used to create energy. And if you have any questions about the process of the Krebs cycle, feel free to drop those in the comments so we can get those addressed.